as an architecture student, like I had a professor that said I didn't have the pedigree or ideas or skill set.
Lessons from a man who went from wanting to be an architect to eventually switching his focus to fashion.
9 times out of 10, we all have ideas that you sort of just get gratification off of like saying it.
It leaves its mark in the collective imagination, the collective unconscious, and changes the city some.
The works, in my mind, get grander and grander over the series of time.
The genius of Virgil Abloh. Let's talk about Virgil, not just Virgil Abloh, the designer, but Virgil the movement. Because honestly, he didn't just change fashion, he changed the rules of engagement. The gatekeeper became the keymaker. So today, we're diving deep. Who was Virgil Abloh? How did he break through? And why is his impact still rippling across streetwear, luxury, and beyond? Engineer first, designer later. Most people know Virgil as Kanye West's creative director, or the guy who launched Off-White, or the first Black artistic director at Louis Vuitton menswear. All true, but here's what they don't always mention. He wasn't trained as a designer. He studied civil engineering, and then got a master's degree in architecture. Think about that. His first creative instincts came not from sketchbooks, but from construction blueprints. That logical, structured thinking, it stayed with him his whole career. He once said, "I want to prove that design isn't exclusive to any one format. It's a way of thinking." And honestly, that mindset is what made him different. The Kanye connection. Now let's rewind to the early 2000s. Virgil is living in Chicago, working at a print shop, DJing on the side, and designing t-shirts for fun. Not glamorous, but he's building a style vocabulary. He meets Kanye West, another Chicago native, and starts collaborating on ideas. They become creative partners, almost like brothers. In 2009, they both interned together at Fendi in Rome. Picture that, 2 black men, unpaid interns, sitting at a desk in a massive European fashion house. They weren't taken seriously at first, but they were taking notes. That same year, they attended Paris Fashion Week and stood outside the shows soaking it all in. There's even a famous photo of them standing in a crowd, the outsiders looking in. And that image, it became symbolic, because within a decade, they wouldn't be outside the show, they'd be the show. Pyrex, Off-White, and the power of quotation marks. In 2012, Virgil dropped his first big fashion experiment, Pyrex Vision. He bought dead stock Ralph Lauren flannels, screen-printed Pyrex 23 on the back, a nod to Michael Jordan, and sold them for $500. The pieces sold out, instantly. Then just as quickly, he shut it down. Why? Because Pyrex was a concept, not a brand. A year later, he founded Off-White. Now this was different, a fully developed fashion label rooted in streetwear and high fashion. It wasn't just hoodies and logos. It had a design language, diagonal lines, zip ties, and of course, quotation marks. He'd write things like shoelaces on actual shoelaces. For walking on boots, it was meta, ironic, self-aware, and people either loved it or hated it. But here's the thing, it made you think. He once said, "Everything I do is for the 17-year-old version of myself." He wanted to show young people that fashion didn't have to be elite. It could be accessible, cultural, funny, even sarcastic. The 10 rewriting sneaker history. In 2017, Virgil teamed up with Nike to release the 10, a reimagining of 10 classic Nike sneakers, including the Air Jordan 1, the Air Max 90, and the Converse Chuck Taylor. But these weren't just color swaps. He deconstructed the shoes, literally peeled them apart and put them back together in a raw, exposed way. Foam sticking out, tongues oversized, stitching visible. It was like, here's how a sneaker's made, and here's how I would remix it. It was part design, part philosophy. Like he was saying, nothing is sacred. Everything can be reinterpreted. The 10 wasn't just a sneaker drop. It was a cultural moment, a turning point where sneakers became not just fashion, but art objects. People lined up for days. Resale prices shot up. The collab changed how brands thought about storytelling and hype. Louis Vuitton and making history. Then came the moment that rewrote fashion history. In 2018, Virgil Abloh was named the artistic director of Louis Vuitton menswear, the first black person to hold that role in the brand's 160-plus year history. His first show in Paris, a rainbow runway, Kid Cudi, Playboy Cardi, Steve Lacy, and others walking in pastel suits. The audience, diverse, young, and emotional. It felt less like a fashion show and more like a moment, a celebration of possibility. He brought streetwear energy into luxury fashion without apology. His 55 collections referenced skate culture, graffiti, rave flyers, and 90s cartoons, while still delivering impeccable tailoring and craftsmanship. He proved you could remix the canon without disrespecting it. Philosophy, haters, and figures of speech. Virgil wasn't without critics. Some said his designs were too simple, that he leaned too hard on ideas, not technique. But to Virgil, ideas were the technique. He had this principle he called the 3% rule. If you change something by just 3%, it becomes something new. Sounds small, right? But to him, it was everything. A little twist, a reframe, a different context. That was the magic. In 2019, he launched his first museum exhibit, Figures of Speech, at the MCA in Chicago. It wasn't just a fashion show. It was a career retrospective that blended sneakers, clothes, video installations, quotes, design references, even architecture models. It was Virgil saying, "This is everything I am, all in one room." Legacy after life. In November 2021, Virgil passed away after a private battle with a rare cancer called cardiac angiosarcoma. He was just 41. The industry was stunned, not just because he was gone, but because it felt like he'd just begun. But his legacy, unstoppable. Off-White continues. His influence lives in younger designers like Samuel Ross, Heron Preston, Martine Rose, Tremaine Emery. You see it in how brands market now, how collaborations are structured, how fashion communicates. Virgil cracked the system open. He made streetwear intellectual. He made luxury accessible. He made black creativity undeniable in spaces where it was often ignored. More than fashion, Virgil Abloh was more than a designer. He was a connector, a translator, a cultural architect. And maybe his greatest genius wasn't just what he designed, but what he redefined. He once said, "You can do it too." And he meant it, not in some vague motivational way, but literally, you can doctor it too. And that's the most powerful design he ever made.